Welcome to the Get Out In It podcast, keeping our mental and physical well-being balanced by heading out into nature and doing stuff.
The activity isn't important. Walk, run, hike, bike, whatever it is, just find something you enjoy and get out in it. The point of this podcast is to show how ordinary people can achieve extraordinary levels of health and fitness.
Out here, we'll share informal, inclusive advice for anyone trying to improve their mental and physical well-being, based on our own experiences and professional knowledge from our special guests.
So let's lace up and get out in it. Can we start again? Sorry, I fucked it.
And here we are. Welcome to episode 5. And what a week it has been. How are you, Maria Herring?
I'm very well, thanks, James Bell. It's probably because it's the weekend. Like if you'd asked me this question midweek while I'm doing my DDJ, it would probably be a different answer. But it's sunny. It's the weekend. I'm loving it.
Yeah,
how are you?
You're never quite that good midweek, are you? We kind of lose you a little bit midweek.
We do. Let's not ever do a podcast midweek. It would be a different vibe altogether.
I'm very well. I'm still sat on my little wobbly stool, as you can see, because I'm on a hip-related journey, but we will get into that a little bit later. What everybody probably wants to know, first of all, is what have you done this week to get out in it?
Got out in it. Me, I have been out in it a little bit more than I was last week. I'm still doing kind of recovery training. You know, you're my coach. You send me my schedule every Sunday, so you know exactly what I've done this week. Although I didn't do everything that I was supposed to have done this week. So yes, on Monday I did my short run. I did an hour, so that was nice. On Tuesday, I did my speed intervals down the park, which was cool, and then a bit of yoga. Wednesday, nothing. DDJ. Thursday, I had a hike with my girlfriends, Christelle and Cece. That was epic. Friday was sports in the park with Tony and my lady friends. And then Saturday was really, really nice. Actually, I was supposed to have done an hour run on Friday, but I didn't do it. Are you cross?
Not at all. You played your joker. You're fine.
Okay, cool. But then Saturday was really, really cool because my bike is finally fixed. Nobody knows that my bike hasn't been fixed for weeks, but it hasn't been fixed for weeks, but now it's fixed. So on Saturday, I went for a really lush cycle along the River Zone in the sunny spring weather. So that was freaking epic.
Awesome. And we did a video call, didn't we? Guiding you through how to reattach that front wheel to your bicycle.
I'm not a mechanic. I don't know how these things work. It was such
the moment when I was trying to get you to put your brakes back together, you were just like, it won't do it. And I was like, well, it's meant to. That's how it's meant to do it. So if it won't, there's a problem here and it ain't the bike. Yeah,
it was me. It did it eventually. But I'm not going to lie. When I had to take my bike to my students, I was a little bit dubious. But the wheel didn't fall off. And it survived for a 21k mooch along the river this morning. So it seems to be okay. I am now fully biked up. Anyway, that was me getting out in it. How have you got out in it, Grandpa Bale?
Well, as you know,
Grandma Bale.
Still struggling with a slight, so when I say slight hip issue, I mean a cripplingly painful issue that is stopping me walking even a straight line. I'm walking with a real hitch now, but I've been on a bit of a journey. Initially, the minor injuries, people told me they thought I might have osteoarthritis. That was then quelled by my physio, who told me it was a muscular issue. Then the GP told me that I had some kind of inflammation in my burster. So I have now got the correct exercises I should be doing to bring it back to life. I've had a corticosteroid injection into the inflammation administered by my GP. And I should be on a road to recovery with a bit of rehab, rest, and a careful implementation of the physio exercises that I've been given.
Well, that's quite the week.
It is quite the week. It does mean I haven't got out on it very much. And it does mean that this 52-kilometer ultra marathon that is next Saturday means that I probably won't be doing that. I can imagine.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do
that. I won't be doing that.
That would be really bad. Everybody would tell you off. I would tell you off. Your physio would tell you off. Your doctor would tell you off. Like everyone would tell you off.
Yeah, I mean there has been a lot of contrasting voices telling me what the issue is. But one consistent noise has been don't run that race.
Yeah,
Everybody's on the
sensible.
same page of that. But I mean, these things come to test us, don't they? And
Hmm.
sometimes you just got to do what they say and make sure you're careful and get back to running. I'm just slightly annoyed that it's just as the sun started to come out and the summer has
Yeah,
begun.
that's really bad timing, Bale.
But I'll be back. I will be back.
How long is it going to take for you to get back?
Well, I mean, the physio is thinks that because it came on quite quickly, he said it might you might be able to deal with it quite quickly. Often if something takes a gradual long time to appear as an injury or an issue, then it means that it takes, this is very general speaking now, but,
From
being that
Dr. Bale.
from Dr. Bell, yeah, I mean, I don't know is the answer, but he said he could be running in 2 weeks, could be running in 3 weeks, could be running in 4 weeks. I would imagine that I will be back running before the summer has really reached its zenith.
So, does that mean that Red Ruth race in August is possibly still on?
Oh, it's 100% still on. Yeah, I'm
In
gunning for it.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
I would like to think that the next time I'm away, I will be running again. I don't.
That's
I
cool.
think it won't only take a week and a bit. I think before I can go for a gentle run. The physio is very supportive of that kind of thing. They say you're not going to do a huge amount of damage. You're just going to irritate it and prolong the recovery. So gauge your effort based on pain. As soon as it starts to hurt, it's game over. But
Okay.
you haven't done any damage running up to that point where it starts to feel like you can't run anymore.
Oh, that's good. And is there any other things that you can do? So if running is too painful and you can't do that, is there anything else that you can do to be outdoors?
Outdoors, I mean, I'm going to be going for walks and stuff, but
Hmm.
I can certainly do that. And I've got a big garden I can sit in. And I'm going to be lifting all the weights. There's going to be so many upper body weights happening in my world.
You're going to get right gunned up.
That's right. And to be honest, I'll be doing the exercises, and as soon as I can start implementing my deadlifts again, I'll be back doing my heavy weights. But not everybody wants to listen to how I have been. What I do want to do this week is give a shout out to a listener friend of ours who got in touch. She's actually Rachel in London, Rachel Laurie in London. She got in touch because she was one of our first beta listeners, and she listened to episode 1 before we launched it and gave me critical feedback. And she got in touch and told me that because of this podcast and all the things we've been saying, she has entered the Hackney Half Marathon in
Oh,
2024, and she's going to start training it for it in August under my supervision. So,
that's
Rachel,
amazing.
thank you for your support. And I'm looking forward to helping you along with that journey as of August.
That's wicked. Well done, Rachel. That's amazing.
So, we will get a plan in place and we will start working towards that race that is just over a year away.
And I think under your training, Coach Bale, she'll nail it because, like, I totally nailed mine. Got a PB just in case anyone missed the news.
That is exactly it. And luckily, with the knowledge that we've got, we understand the importance when you get into your mid to late 30s of the strength work to underpin the aerobic exercise and cardiovascular stuff to make sure that you've got the structure required to support you in your efforts.
Mm.
Do it early enough rather than late, then you won't be coming across any issues like I've got. Let's hope not. Anyway, so we've got a chat to have. Should we get our hiking boots on and go for a walk?
Yes, let's do that. I'm very excited about this hike and a chat. It's going to be wicked.
Let's see what she's got to say. Getting into it. So this week, we are lucky enough to be joined by a good friend, Dr. Cat Hine. Cat is a lecturer at Plymouth University and an amateur endurance athlete and all-round battler. She specializes in coming back from injury, drinking coffee, and eating peanut butter. We've known each other for some time and have been on a few adventures together. Thanks for coming on, Cat. How are you, mate?
Yeah, really good, thank you. And thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. It's a pleasure to have another woman on the pod.
Definitely.
So as always, the first question we've got to ask you is, what have you done this week to get out in it?
This week I have been out on my bike. So I am currently training for a quite long distance cycle event, and it means lots of miles, having to get lots of miles in the legs in prep for that. So I did 140 miles at the beginning of the week in a Audax event. I've been in the gym doing strength training, which is just a part of my daily routine. And I've been doing a little bit of open water swimming, like cold water immersion kind of stuff, so not distance. And generally just chilling out, soaking up some of the sunshine vibes that we've had.
So this is the first in our bouncing back micro embedded series. And Kat, you've got a pretty mental bouncing back story to share with us. But before we get to that, can you tell us what crazy shit you've been up to recently over the last couple of years? Because I know you've got a few cool stories.
So over the last couple of years, I've been focusing on more endurance stuff. So I did my first Ironman in 2019, and I definitely found a love for longer distance sport then. So I've done some other long distance triathlons. I know I met you guys out in the Alps last summer. I'd taken my bike out. I've driven across France in my van. I was cycling in the mountains. I did this really epic race up at the top of Alpe d'Huez. And then I basically just kind of cruised around riding my bike whenever I wanted to in France. This time last year, I ran a really awesome trail marathon in the Brecons. So I ran to one of the highest points in South Wales as a part of that. It's called the Midnight Marathon, actually. So we didn't start until 5 o'clock at night, and the cutoff was midnight. With the elevation involved, that was a bit of a tall order. I didn't know it was possible, but it actually hailed on me. Yes, this time of the year. I definitely thought at one point I was going to fall off the edge of a mountain. But yeah, those are the big things that I've kind of done. Lots of training, lots of time outdoors, and just making the most of what we've got on our doorstep.
Nice.
Hang on. You haven't mentioned the bike packing, which is the only bit I was really interested in hearing about. So tell us about the bike packing adventure you went on.
So this is relatively new to me, but I've taken up doing sort of more self-supported things. So coming out of the Ironman field, which I know you and your listeners will be familiar with, I'm doing a lot more things that don't have aid stations. So a few weeks ago, I did a local event, which basically had a couple of checkpoints. You could make up the route yourself. You could go on however big or long an adventure you wanted to, ride as fast as you wanted to within the weekend. And a friend of mine and I, we packed up our bike stuff. We took bivy bags and strapped them onto the back of our bikes, and literally rode across Cornwall to the coast. We bivvied on the beach for the night, and then we rode down to one of the most southerly points in the county before hot-footing it back to Plymouth. So yeah, that was a pretty rugged adventure.
Hang on.
Sounds amazing.
Hang on. As much as that sounds awesome, that wasn't the bike packing I was talking about. I'm talking about the one on the adventure you went on a different continent where you cycled.
I get it. That is bike packing as well. Yeah. So for Christmas this year, I literally cycled from Chiang Mai to Bangkok.
There you go.
Hell.
We got there finally.
I forget these things. You see,
You've done so many adventures.
You do so many badass things. I just think about all of the kind of races, all the kind of organized stuff. But yeah, a friend of mine was getting married in Thailand, so I went out for the wedding. And years and years and years ago, I joked that my date for the wedding was going to be my bike, and it really was, because there was nobody else I was going to take. But a friend joined me out after the wedding. We took an overnight train up to Chiang Mai, and we spent 10 days riding through some of the kind of jungle area in the north, and then along the kind of flat plains as we headed back into Bangkok. It was a bit of a credit card bike packing thing, which I think is why it's kind of a very safe adventure. So we plotted our route in advance. We booked accommodation either well in advance or within a couple of days of where we were. So we were only cycling. I say only. we were only doing about 100k every day, soaking up the sights. We were eating local food and really kind of getting to some of those places off the beaten track. So we saw towns, villages, and cities that really just aren't on the tourist map normally. We spent a lot of our time just mucking around, using hand signals and thumbs up for yes, I'd like a bottle of Coke, and pointing at something that, you know, we'll have that. God only knows what it is or what's in it, but we'll eat that because it looks tasty. We worked out that the cheapest pad thai was generally the tastiest pad thai, and you can always get by whether you've got language or not. And yeah, people were really, really friendly, and we definitely had the trip of a lifetime there.
Oh, so amazing.
This friend of yours that you went cycling on that with, that was Dave of the bike shop, Dave, who's given me lifetime discount for introducing you both, eh?
Yes, yeah, that is him. He is a significant part of my life, and definitely an adventure buddy. We do an awful lot of cycling together. We're on the same wavelength in terms of what we want to be doing and just getting out in it. Steal your line right there.
I love that. Brilliant. Love it. Okay, so we have fully established that you are a absolute badass. And I would like, if it's okay with you, to take you back to that very fateful day back in April 2019 when something pretty traumatic happened to you. So could you take us through that day, please?
So yeah, I was out cycling with James actually, and we'd spent the day out on the roads. It was a bank holiday weekend, and we detoured on our route. We hadn't gone where we'd originally planned to go because it was quite busy. We'd had a lovely day out, and we just thought as we were getting back to our cars, we need to make this a round number. We need to go an extra couple of miles up and down the road just to kind of top it off and set out for the distance that we'd planned to. We'd
done 97 miles, hadn't we, at that point, and we wanted to make it 100.
Yeah,
and
we wanted to make it 100.
Yeah.
It's classic. I do that on a run as well. If I come back and it's like 9.78 kilometers, it's like, for fuck's sake, I'll have to go out and just run until I get an even 10.
yeah, just run the block quick.
You've got to do it. You've got to do it.
We'd done the math. We just got like bomb up the road, bomb back again, do 100, and it would be fine. And we're both training long distance triathlons, so doing 100 miles at the time wasn't out of the way. It wasn't a massive thing, but we were cruising down the road in a small village. We were chatting away as you do, and a gentleman driving a Nissan. We're all Nissan drivers. Sorry, listeners, but decided to pull out directly in front of us. He did a U-turn in the middle of the road, and as a result, I literally went face first into his wing. We tried to take avoiding action. I honestly thought that he would see me as I tried to sort of move out of the way and make myself visible, but actually he didn't stop. I went straight into his wing. I landed on the floor in a great big mess, and he kept driving.
You're kidding.
Yeah, he drove off, didn't he?
Oh my God.
He left the scene initially. I think there was I remember sort of half coming to, and I could see what I think it was a VW transporter or something like in the road in front of me, and I had this kind of panic moment in my head where I just went, oh my God, that van's gonna run me over, having not really clocked that I'd actually already been hit and it was stationary. So I kind of did this thing where I was trying to get out of the middle of the road. I didn't know. JB and help kind of pick me up and drag me to the side. And actually that van driver went and chased down, literally tore up through the village we were in and pulled in front of this gentleman that had hit me and told him quite firmly that he should return to the scene and that the police were more likely than not going to be called. But yeah, I knew, sat on the side of the pavement, that I was in a pretty bad way. There was quite a bit of blood.
Quite a bit of blood. There was some amount of blood. There really was. It was. I was on the inside of you coming down that hill, and we were just cruising.
Yeah.
No particular speed, just freewheeling down this hill, and this guy just U-ed in front of us. I was lucky enough, and that's all it was luck on my part to be able to get down the inside of him.
Yeah,
Even if you tried to cut along the inside, you'd have just gone into the back of him rather than the front of him because you wouldn't have had space to get your bike across. And
yeah.
you hit it with some force. And I remember the first thing I saw when you tried to lift your face off the ground was just blood pouring out of your mouth and nose because I think you'd lost a couple of teeth and you'd broken your nose, hadn't you? So it transpired.
Yeah, I definitely broken a couple of my front teeth where just the impact of my jaw kind of closing on them as well as the impact on the pavement in front of me and face into his wing because I did literally face plant the wing of a Nissan Note, which is a reputation that now precedes me.
Weirdly enough, I'm actually driving in a Nissan Note at the moment as a courtesy car. It's parked outside. I can see it. I can see it. But yeah, I'll take issue with the JB drags you out the road. You were trying to get yourself up onto the pavement, and I just lended some assistance to help you.
Yeah.
You know, I was very aware that you were. I told you to lie still for the moment because we were concerned whether you had a spinal injury or not. But you were getting yourself up, so we moved you to the side of the road so the traffic could
like
no
I said,
longer be such an issue.
That moment of panic in your head where you're not really quite sure what's going on. So I had some quite severe concussion. For at least 2 weeks afterwards, I'd get to about lunchtime and I wasn't then able to hold a conversation. I was just so tired. I was fucked. It was really challenging, and it's just that kind of that essentially a brain injury, not a sort of significant one, but for a good few weeks it really did knock me out, and I just wasn't able to kind of live a normal life. I had some other injuries, so having kind of sat on the side of the pavement, I knew that I needed to lie down. My head was absolutely spinning, and there was, I think, a lovely lady had come out of a house just to help because there are still great people in the world who will literally come out and phone an ambulance and look after you and get you a blanket. Although it was a really lovely day, but I remember
she was lovely. Her husband was less happy with me using their landline. I remember that.
There we go.
There you go. He was concerned about the cost, I think.
Wow. Amazing.
But yeah, I knew I wasn't in a great position. I'd broken a couple of bones in my hand, and I've got a quite significant injury on my quad where I think actually it transpires where I'd gone head first. I'd gone over my handlebars and my legs had got caught up in the tri-bars. So I had clip-on tri-bars on my road bike, and I literally just impaled my leg on the elbow pad of the tri-bar. And I had issues with that leg, with strength in that leg since that date. I've still got a bit of a dent in the muscle there. The bruising was significant for months and months and months. And yeah. There's a definite imbalance in my strength where I've had some kind of physio and strength work and assessments done where the left hand side of my body and my left leg is significantly stronger than my right leg, and I can see that on a day-to-day basis with things like my power meter on my bike that always tells me my left leg's doing all of the work, and it's only a few percent here and there, but it is quite a difference when you kind of scale that up.
Especially seeing as it was what, four years ago now, and you still got repercussions from that day.
Yeah.
It was the deepest and most significant hematoma I think I've ever seen on anyone. It was grim. I wanted to poke it, but it was grim.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even with grown adults, you want to poke a bruise.
You want to poke the bruise, yeah, for goodness sake. So, Kat, how long were you in hospital for after that accident?
Not very long, actually. They discharged me that day. So I spent quite a number of hours strapped to a spinal board where they were worried about a potential break in my spine. Once they'd ruled that out, they were happy for me to go home. I'd got people that could come and stay with me and look after me. So because live alone. So there were people that could come and come and be with me for the first 48 hours, which is what their sort of stipulation was. I needed some constant care and attention, just to make sure that nothing else happened. But they discharged me. But I had appointments the following week, so I had to see ENT and nose throat specialists for my teeth, and sort of the facial sort of trauma that I'd sustained. I had to see another consultant for the injuries I had on my hands and the breaks there. And following that, I had almost weekly appointments with an occupational therapist for about a 12-week period. I was kind of in and out. To start with, it was weekly, and then it went sort of to sort of 2 weekly, 3 weekly, while I was in rehab, and just trying to get my hand back working, and all of the sort of physio activities and that I had to do in order to make sure that it regained its use. They threatened surgery on it at one point, but actually they managed to kind of reset the bones in line, using splints and things like that. But when things are immobilized, you obviously get sort of your tendons will lock up and things like that. So it was making sure that I had the right physio and was able to do that physio, in order to get that back.
Yeah, I mean, there was, despite some of the, obviously the guy that left the guy that hit you and drove away, and a few other people that weren't particularly helpful, there were some very, very useful and helpful people that day who stopped and assisted. And then obviously you got whisked up in the ambulance, didn't you? And I dropped your bike to my house and then met you at the hospital. And I think other than seeing you hit the car, the worst bit for me was having to take your mobile phone off you and ring your sister, who I'd never met or spoken to, and be like, "Hi, you don't know me, but this has happened." And in they came. But people looked after you very well, eh?
Yeah, I felt so lucky to have people around me that were able to look after me. Having you there, knowing that you were there at the hospital, and then sharing that burden with my sister. I don't think it's ever a phone call that you want to have that somebody you care about is in hospital. And even though at the time she knew there was nothing she could do and I wasn't going to be discharged anytime soon, she just got in a car and drove straight to the hospital so she could be there with us. And yeah, when you're strapped to a spinal board staring at a ceiling and all you can see is sort of ceiling tiles, having somebody to hold your hand and tell you that it's going to be all right, or just be there, is a phenomenal thing, because it is very disconcerting when you don't know.
I can imagine. And so it took many, 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 many weeks and months to go through all of that rehab. During that period, how were you feeling about cycling and sports in general? Had you kind of given up on the idea of being an active person, or was that what was keeping you going through all of the rehab?
There's a bit of a double-edged sword here. Initially, I pretty much got straight back on the bike. I was running on adrenaline. I was determined to complete the Ironman that I'd signed up to. And that's what kept me going. I trained through injury. So I'd had a kind of literally a month on the sofa, and then decided, all right, I've got to get back to it. I've got to do this. I've got to stand on my own 2 feet and do the thing that I set out to do. And this bastard ain't getting in the way. And I did that. I got there. I got to the start line and I got to the finish line of that race, which was a huge achievement for me. I was swimming with paddles and things like that because I desperately wanted to swim, and with a broken hand you can't hold the water. It just hurt. It just wasn't possible. Running was painful. I couldn't run down hills with the impact loading on my quad. It was excruciating, but I could spin my legs on the bike and I could turn over enough to kind of get me through that race. I obviously had quite a lot of residual fitness going into that, which helped me out. But it hit me probably 6 months later how significant that was, and the thought that had come through in my mind then was, fuck, somebody tried to kill me. And that's how my brain kind of went, oh shit, what do I do with that information? And I struggled on the bike. I genuinely, once that adrenaline had kind of worn off, I really struggled to get back on the bike. I am still quite cautious on the bike, particularly around junctions and things. I'm kind of sat in the middle of the road going, I'm here, I'm visible, like you see me. I've always been into kind of bright, colourful kit anyway. But I just won't ride the bike in black or anything like that. I'm always the one in bright neon and with my lights on. So yeah, it took a while, and particularly sort of things like descending and traffic have been a bit of a bugbear for me. A year or so, yeah, 2 years ago now, I really did lose my confidence, and I was really struggling just to get back on the bike. And I've had a bit of a reassess, I think, that why I'm riding the bike, what it is that I'm doing, and what the purpose of it all has very much changed off the back of kind of coming to terms with that accident and what that means for me and my life, essentially.
Because how did you get over your lack of confidence? And because obviously you've been bikepacking, you've done some incredible things the last couple of years. So how did you kind of get over that lack of confidence to keep on? Because like, I don't think I'd be able to get back on a bike. If that happened to me, I think I'd be like, nah, I'm done with cycling. That's totally it. How did you get your confidence back?
I think the fact that I had gotten back on a bike relatively quickly was a benefit. It's like that thing, I get straight back on the horse. So I think if I hadn't gotten back on a bike, I may have never gotten back on a bike again. But in terms of getting my confidence back, it has been a really slow process. It's been a lot about kind of skills, and really thinking about what it is that I'm doing. So one of the things on the bike is, if you tense up, if you look at the obstacle in front of you or anything like that, then that's what you're going to hit. If you're looking at the pothole, you're going to hit the pothole. If you go all kind of tense, you're not going to make it around the corner. You've really got to relax. And for me, slowing down, the irony in it, but going slower, taking things steady. There's been a lot of times where I've had to literally stop and give myself a really good talking to in terms of, why am I doing this? And I bloody well can get down this hill, whatever it might be, and that kind of take a big deep breath and go again, but allowing myself to do that, and not beating myself up for not being able to, or not being good enough, or not having the kind of the skills and the speed that I used to. But I've also reframed it as to why I'm doing it. And like yourselves, I want to be outside. I want to be in nature. I want to enjoy riding my bike. And actually, particularly when it comes to bike packing, it doesn't matter how fast I'm going. I've never been a front of the pack athlete. I was always very much right in the middle, just trying to achieve something and have a good time. But I really did find joy in just being outside, wanting to kind of ride my bike, and I wanted to enjoy riding my bike again. And that's one of the things that definitely got me through, and kind of wanting to get that confidence back, and wanting to be competent on the bike, and not just kind of having a panic and freezing and then doing something really stupid and putting myself in an awkward position. So I've got some great friends around me. I've got some great people that I've ridden with, who've been very, very patient with me, knowing that I've struggled, and that's a massive benefit. There's a fantastic cycling community out there. There's a fantastic just group of people. Wherever you look, you will find somebody who is willing to kind of encourage, take time, and who will be riding at a similar pace to you. And they may not be the people that you then continue riding with, as you kind of get that confidence and move forwards, but they are people that are just kind of consistently out there doing it, enjoying what they do, and willing to take somebody under their wing for a few days, a few months, a couple of rides, in order to kind of help them out and help them move forwards.
So when you first had the accident and you were sitting in hospital, and then you said you had that Ironman 3 months later, 3.5 months later.
Yeah.
And you're a fiercely, belligerently independent human being. So you were determined to do that race, and that helped you compartmentalize the sort of PTSD of the accident, put that to one side, and just sort of single-mindedly focus on that race, which you then completed, which was amazing. Do you think that having that to focus on although it may not have been the healthiest way to try and deal with an accident like that, rather than processing it immediately. But do you think in the long term that helped you? Because, like you said, it got you back on the bike and got you moving, and then you kind of dealt with the implications of the accident afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me it definitely drove home like I can do this. I'm not quite sure what would have happened if I'd have kind of been completely derailed. It really felt like it took my brain 6 months to kind of catch up with what had happened. And start to process that and come to terms with it, which I think is it's a natural thing. It's not like a light bulb moment where something kind of happens and then like all of a sudden you wake up the next day and you go, oh my god, this really hideous thing happened and now I want to live my life in a certain way, or I need to value X, Y, or Z. I think it definitely took time for that to filter through and for me to kind of reassess what it was I was doing and why I was doing those things, in order to move forward and forge the life that I've got now.
Did that focus on that race make finishing that race an even heavier sort of importance to you? Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I definitely cried when I crossed that finish line. Not straight away, but afterwards. And having my sister there, having you there as well, was absolutely phenomenal. It really felt like I had my team around me, and yeah, just getting there despite the adversity, and knowing, I think knowing in myself how strong I actually am and how resilient I can be. And you know what, if you want to do something, I know you guys have spoken to Adelaide, and she's one of those people who'd like, if you want to put your mind to it, you will get there, and if you can visualize it, you will do it. But there is definitely something in that if you want it bad enough, you will get it. And again, just the strength, and I don't need the medal, I don't need the trophy, but knowing in myself that I was able to do that, is a huge part of who I am now.
And did that then allow you to reassess what you were going to do afterwards? You know, once you crossed that finish line, that was the time to then go, right, what am I?
It took a while. I still thought that I wanted to do triathlon. I've always loved, with triathlon, having kind of multi-disciplines. If you get a bit fed up with swimming or it's not working for you, you focus on the bike, or in the winter when it's really hideous to be out cycling, you go running, because it's so much easier just to lace on a pair of trainers than it is to get bike kit out and get wet and blah. But it's a thing. But it took a while, for me to kind of come around to that, and I really did realize that being outside, testing my body, seeing what it is that I'm capable of doing, and just enjoying being in nature was more important than racing. The races were always kind of an excuse to do that and a reason to kind of keep me motivated. But I don't necessarily need that motivation. I do it for the love of it a bit more now.
That's amazing. I love that. So have you noticed like pre-car crash and post-car crash? So before you were, it was all races, but now do you do races still? Or I know you did the outdoors one because we were there, we saw you, it was amazing. But is it still part of your life, racing?
Racing is a little bit, not to the same extent. I still love a race every now and then, but I'm definitely doing lots of different things. For me, it's much more about going on an adventure. And so that mountain marathon I talked about, it was about being able to run somewhere absolutely beautiful, run up a mountain in the middle of the night, essentially. And that was the adventure. The fact that it was a race and there were other people doing it just made it all the more awesome. I started doing some Audax events this year, so they are very much kind of self-supported cycle events. You've got certain checkpoints that you need to get to, and you're riding between those checkpoints. You're putting money in the local economy, buying something, proving that you were there, and then get your little card stamped when you get back home, essentially, to say, yes, you've made it round, you've done that, and this is the time that you did it in. Some of them are timed in that you have a certain time period in order to do that, but they are events that are very much about completing the distance and enjoying it. So there's actually a maximum speed as well as a minimum speed in order to complete those events, because they don't want people just absolutely hammering it as fast as they possibly can, not stopping anywhere and essentially racing it, which it really kind of appeals to my ethos that you get to see new places, you get to ride new roads. And that's the thing that I want to do now. I want to ride new roads. I don't want to be riding the same thing all the time.
That's the thing about getting out in it, isn't it? It is the adventure. It's seeing new parts of the world, or even just new parts of where you live. It doesn't have to be across the globe, but to being out there, enjoying nature. And like you said, finding the joy again, finding the joy in the activity.
Yeah. I must have, when COVID hit, because that was a thing, and we were in lockdown, I found all of the footpaths around where I lived. And there were some that were terribly, terribly marked, and you knew that they went kind of across the field in that direction. But then God only knows where they actually sort of finished, or which gate it really was in that corner, because like the local maps weren't particularly useful. But I managed to find all of those by kind of joining them up from one end to another, and being able to kind of, oh, it's that side of the hedgerow, that I've really seen where I live in a completely different light as well, because I live in a beautiful part of the world and I've got so many amazing things kind of quite close on the doorstep that I'd overlooked what was literally right on my doorstep within a 10-mile radius of my front door. All these bits that I just hadn't explored in kind of detail, and all these like awesome little shortcuts and walks along estuaries and things like that.
Nice.
So you've kind of delabeled yourself, really. You're not a triathlete, you're not a swimmer, you're not a biker. You're kind of all of them, all wrapped into one, just sort of doing your own thing.
An adventurer, I think. That, but why label? But I would go with adventurer.
Yeah, I think that's it. I absolutely love an adventure. And for me, being strong enough to do whatever it is that I decide's coming next. I don't necessarily plan things kind of years and years and years in advance, but there's a few things kind of on my radar that I'm like, oh, I'd quite like to do that one day, but I'm not wedded to it being this year or next year. It's just like that's in the back of my head as a really awesome adventure that I'd love to be able to go and do. And being fit enough and strong enough to be out all day, to be out enjoying it, to be doing the things that I love and having that, I want to say work-life balance. It's more than just work and life. It's being able to embrace what's around you, to put your resources into the things that you enjoy doing, and that'll be, some days it's supping and kayaking. I went on a fantastic kayak adventure where we kind of kayaked across a bay and took a load of camping equipment, and then we like camped on the beach and had a seafood barbecue, and the next day we kayaked home again. And just like that's a really awesome weekend. And when you kind of focused on, I want to do Ironman training, I need to do this, I need to go and ride 50 miles at this pace, and it needs to be flat because that's the course that I'm doing, but I don't live anywhere flat, so oh god, have I got to do that on the turbo? That doesn't make sense to me anymore. That actually going out, doing those things, having really wholesome experiences, and I don't want to sound sappy and say making memories, but actually, like,
you did it. You sounded sappy.
Yeah, falling asleep looking at the stars. It's a thing, but not everybody gets to do that.
That sounds amazing.
Is there a big difference between the cat now and the cat 5 years ago in your approach to health, fitness, well-being?
I definitely think about it more as well-being and holistic well-being, not about trying to be fit. Or it being about what I weigh and what's on the scale. I look at it much more holistically, because I realize that actually sometimes fixating on a race and making it all about that one thing, or trying to achieve
or a number
goal, or a number, and quite often those numbers are out of your control. And where you place in a race it's dependent on who it is that turns up there on the day as well. And so many people get, I say so many people, the communities we surround ourselves with, and a lot of people that get kind of caught up in, I got to race this race and this race because so-and-so is going to be here, or so-and-so is not going to be there, so I get a better chance of qualifying, and all of these sorts of things that, for me, that's taken the fun out of it. And having that always kind of chipping away in the back of your head, like, I want to exceed, I want to go beyond, I want to be at this race, I want to do these things. I take each day as it comes. I really value the fact that I am alive, and I've kind of I've scraped through, and I landed on my feet like a true cat.
You
I
didn't.
got
You
an extra
landed on your
life.
face. You landed on your face. I saw it.
Yeah. But it has in the long run given me that kind of perspective that I want to do all of the awesome things, and fixating on kind of one thing. I'm lucky that I can, and I do live in a part of the world that means I can just pack up if the weather's really beautiful and go and do something for the weekends, and not having a specific race. So I'm still working on my fitness. I'm still in the gym at stupid o'clock in the morning. I do like 6 a.m. in the gym on the way to work, to keep my strength, to make sure that I've got that functional fitness, as well as kind of long bike rides on the weekend and stuff. And yeah, at the minute I'm looking at lots of miles on the bike, but I'm doing that because I love it. Because I want an excuse to be riding like long miles on the bike and going out. Like, you can go out and you can do 50, you can go out, you can do 80, you can go out and do 140, whatever it is. Like, I needed that kind of bit of an excuse to do it in order to legitimately go, right, I'm out for the day and this is all I'm doing this weekend, because I'm doing a 400-mile ride nearly, and I'm going to ride through the night, and I'm going to watch the sun come up. And how many people do you know that can say that they've done that and they've been able to see the world? Literally, I'm riding from Cornwall to London, and I'm going to see parts of the world that I probably didn't even know existed, on roads that I will probably never be able to find again unless I find them on my like GPX computer.
There's nothing better than watching the sunrise from a bike. So
That's
do you think the focus has changed now, from instead of focusing on the races and the races dictating your training, you're focusing on how you want to live your life, and that is dictating the races that you choose?
Yeah, definitely. It's all about lifestyle for me. It's about having a life and an approach to that life which is fulfilling, that encourages me to do the things that I love, to be getting out in nature, to fill my lungs every day with some fresh air, some proper fresh air, to make sure I'm getting the kind of vitamin D and all of those things that are associated with health, and to be living my best life. I feel like I'm sounding like a performance coach or something here, but it is about like living the best life that you can. I'm
no
not
dress
the type of
rehearsal, is it?
person. No, that's it. And I don't want to sit at home watching TV every evening. I don't own a TV now. I haven't for a lot of my adult life, but I don't sit in the evenings kind of vegetating out for hours on end, because that's not how I want to live my life.
Doesn't sound like the kind of person you are at all.
No, it doesn't light my fire. It doesn't make me smile. And there is a place when you need to switch your brain off and you've had a really long, tired day. But actually, that kind of meditative being outside, listening to the ocean or whatever it is, or just sitting in my car listening to the rain on the windscreen, is just as meditative as literally staring at, I don't know, Love Island or whatever's on, and going, "Whoa, what the hell are these people on about?"
So it sounds like if that car crash hadn't happened, perhaps today you'd still be on that path of finding the Ironmans, the big races to do, and focusing just on that and speed and all those things, swim, bike, run. In a way, are you a little bit glad that you had that car crash? Because it sounds like your life has gone off a completely different direction now. And it sounds amazing. Like, the stuff that you've done is truly epic. So are you a little bit glad that you had that car crash? I know that's a really weird question.
Possibly. I think with any life experience, it is what it makes us. And we are the outcome of all of those experiences. It did change a course for me, and I'm really glad that course has changed, because actually for me, trying to train Ironman and having a coach and sitting on a turbo trainer in order to get really effective training in wasn't right for me. And yeah, the car crash was a bit of a catalyst for change. I think the change would have happened naturally. I think I'd have probably got on board. It would have just taken a few more years to kind of get there and have those realizations. but there are a lot of people out there that's had a bit of a brush with death and disaster, and kind of, yeah, it's not a light bulb moment. You don't see your life flash before your eyes and go, oh my god, I need to change my life and do something different. It sort of happens a little bit more slowly, I think. Where you just get a bit more reflective over what is genuinely important to you.
I think sometimes life just needs to demonstrate to you a little bit the other side of the fence, if you know what I mean. You can be in your lane, just doing your thing, and then sometimes something can happen. You know, I broke my ankle 2 years ago, and that forced me to take some time off what I was doing and look at whether I was enjoying it or not, whether I wanted to go back to doing it again. And the answer was no. So you just sometimes have to go, actually, there's a reason I don't fancy getting back on that horse.
Yeah. And I know there's a reason why I literally haven't sat on my turbo trainer for a couple of years. I know I was involved in some challenges a few years ago, and we did sort of a bit of a league, and we rode certain routes on Zwift and stuff, and it was great fun, just kind of having a bit of banter and a reason to do some training and be a bit competitive, just for fun, kind of fun competition amongst friends. But the only reason I had my Zwift subscription and I was getting on the turbo was for that banter and that fun. It wasn't because I genuinely wanted to be doing intervals or trying to ride up to Zwift as fast as I could or whatever it was. I'd much prefer to be riding a steel bike outside, getting wet and muddy, or jumping around some trails, as against being stuck indoors.
If there is somebody out there who's listening who is feeling quite dispirited or has a lack of confidence after a traumatic physical experience, what piece of advice would you give them to get back out there, to find their confidence again?
I'd say go back to your why. Why is it that you started this journey? And some of the superficial things might be it's a kind of weight loss or anything like that. But what is it that you enjoy about these things? And go back to those things. That it's not necessarily about kind of going fast, but it's how you feel afterwards. It's how you feel. Like, you don't have to ride 100 miles and absolutely beat yourself up to feel incredible. You can go outside for half an hour and get that. And it is going back to that, why am I doing this? What is the most important thing to me? What is that underpinning value that I have, which is taking me forwards, that I need to do this for? And the confidence will come. The more you do something, the more you kind of practice it. It's like that thing that motivation comes and goes, confidence comes and goes, but actually it's those habits, it's that daily just doing it. And I know that's not easy. And it's really easy to kind of sit here and say, oh, just get out and do it. It's fine. But it's thinking about what is it? And for me, like I said before, that holistic health, well-being, I want functional independence when I'm old. I want strong bones. I want to be able to continue doing this and making the most of what's around me. I don't want to be kind of stuck indoors from, I don't know, 70 and unable to get out or unable to bounce back from injury. That gives me the confidence that whatever's going on in my brain that's telling me I can't do it, I need to keep doing it.
Nice. Find that why. Go back to the why even.
Go back to the why.
I love it.
So you've got this Cornwall to London cycle trip coming up. What else is on the horizon? What adventures have you got coming up? What can you tell us about?
So,
and when are you going to come and join me for an ultra marathon? Bundle that into one question.
Bundle that into one. So this is a little bit, you heard it here first. So this summer, I've got I'm riding the Trafalgar Way, so I'm riding from Falmouth to London. And the time cap on that is 40 hours. So I've got a couple of days to do that in, which is awesome. I'm then going to head down to the Pyrenees. So I'm hoping to watch the first couple of days of the Tour de France. I'm going to have quite stiff legs, I think, but gonna do that and ride some mountains, make my way back kind of across France with the bike. Hang out in Bordeaux, ride the bike in Brittany, go for a sea swim, all of those kind of things, which will just be beautiful. Following that, I have my eyes actually on so there's a local events company to me who I volunteer for every now and then, and they put on some fantastic races. I did my first off-road trail run. It was actually 20 miles. I've never run a standalone half marathon on the road. Don't ask me why. It's just not been a thing that's I've done half marathons at the end of 70.3s. I've run kind of marathons at the end of Ironmans and done trail marathons and things, but kind of road running's never been my thing. But I did this 20-mile trail race in 2017 with an ex-partner of mine, and I always said I'd go back and I'd do the 100k at that event. It's on the south coast of Cornwall, and it is an out and back on the coast path, and I know that they will look after me. I know that they have the best events crew, not just because I'm part of their events crew every now and then, but yeah, they put on phenomenal events, and one day I'm going to go back and I'm going to do that. There's some epic other adventures out there.
So is that really this year? You're going to do a 100k race this year? Okay.
Not this year.
All right. Okay. Because I was about to give you a bollocking. I was going to say, you haven't told me this. I've been asking.
No, maybe next year.
Okay.
Maybe in the next kind of couple of years. There's a really awesome race that kind of goes across Scotland. It starts at kind of one side of Scotland, and there's running, there's bike, there's off-road sections. You kayak across a loch in the middle, and I was like, that looks really awesome. So it may be that becomes, if I can fit it into my calendar, because being in academia, it can be quite difficult to take leave at certain times of the year. So some of those kind of September races and things are really difficult to fit in the diary, because actually I've started teaching and things like that. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's about adventures. It's about doing some of those awesome things, and if it means that I get to run trails and ride my bike in epic places and all of those things, then yeah, I'll be in for it.
Love it.
Love that. Your life sounds amazing. I love your life.
I quite like it too.
So now we've got the most important question of the podcast, which I'm going to let Maria ask this week.
Okay. So yeah, straight up, most important question of the whole podcast. We have a Spotify list for all our listeners with all of our music that we train to. So we want to know, what song would you like to add to our Get Out in It Spotify playlist?
Don't be shit.
Don't be shit.
You're going to call this one shit. I'm going to say Camel Fat Easier.
I don't know any of the words that you said.
I don't even know. What is the title of the song and what is the band?
So the DJ is Camel Fat.
Okay.
They are I really like one of their albums. But the song Easier has got some quite good lyrics, and whenever I'm running and it comes on, it makes me chuckle a little bit. That kind of like, I thought it would be easier lyric hits home every now and then, because quite often we do think it's going to be easier than it is, and you find some of those dark places when you're out doing your thing, when you're on your own, as well as when you're kind of with other people. That whenever that one comes on, it does just bring a little bit of a wry smile to my face.
Well, that sounds perfect, because I love it when you're listening to something and you're in the middle of doing a long run or a long bike ride, and then all of a sudden the lyrics, which mean completely different things, because they didn't write the song about running, but they're so appropriate to what you're going through right now. Yeah, I love it when that happens. Cool. Okay, Camel Fat Easier. Right.
So anyone
you guys
playing
can
along
message
at home,
me later.
I'm going to listen
find
to
it on YouTube.
As soon as we're done.
Yeah. I'm going to get abusive text messages later. That's absolutely shit. What is wrong with you?
You've ruined our playlist. How dare you?
I must admit, I love a bit of drum and bass for like being in the gym and stuff.
Is it drum and bass?
Not there. It's not drum and bass, but I do kind of like those things with a bit of beat and that aren't necessarily like kind of your easy listening in the office sort of stuff.
To anyone playing along at home, that's Camel Fat with a PH.
Yes.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Camel Fat with a PH. The song is Easier featuring Lowe's, apparently. I don't
There
know
we
who
go.
Lowe's is.
You just
I don't know
Googled
who any of these
while we were
people are.
talking. You just totally Googled it.
I've looked it up on the Spotify to sound like
The
a granddad.
Spotify. Granddad Bale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Kat, it's been remarkable having you on. You tell a hell of a tale, and you
Yeah.
certainly you've got an inspirational journey you've been on the last few years, and I know that from the outset it's been that. So it was a real pleasure to talk to you.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me.
Where do people find you if they want to find you online before we go?
I am Catty Hine _doctor on Instagram. That's my handle. I do follow JB and Maria, so yeah, you can probably hit me on that way.
Cool.
Cheerio,
Thanks so
mate.
much,
Take
Kat.
it easy.
See you soon.
Have a good one.
Bye. The debrief.
The emphasis was correct, I feel.
Okay.
Well, that was enthralling. What did you think of that conversation we just had?
That was a mental conversation. I'm not going to lie, Bale. I'm a little bit in awe of what Dr. Cat has achieved after such a traumatic physical experience. And the fact that she is still out there on her bike doing these incredible adventures is just, I mean, that's amazing. It's genuinely amazing. And so, like, on the days when I'm like, oh, I don't want to go out for a run today, it's like, do you know what? Shut up. Because, yeah, what a human.
Yeah, you can apply the "what would Cat do" principle whenever you're feeling a little bit like you don't want to do it now.
WWKD. Yes.
Now, look, I think it was a really interesting interview. I think she came across really well because it was. I mean, I've known her for a long time, and it was a hell of a journey from the point of that accident to that Ironman, completing that race. And that race wasn't the conclusion of her recovery and her getting over the implications of that accident, because, you know, there was a massive dip post that race. Like she said when she was talking, she used that race as a, that's what I need to get to. Once I've done that, I've recovered. And then once she hit that race, there was a huge fall off the other side of like, where now? And I think that was the point where she refound her why, as she said, and her reason for wanting to be outside and doing exercise, and sort of redefined what it was for her and what the reason and meaning for it was.
I think that's what I loved about her conversation, was the fact that she, instead of kind of giving up on cycling, like I said when we were talking, like if that had have happened to me, I'm not sure I would have been able to get back on the bike. But I love the fact that she wouldn't let that accident define her, and instead of kind of continuing along the same path, doing the training for the Ironmans and all of those kind of massive endurance triathlons and stuff, she refound the joy in cycling, but in other ways. So like her backpacking, all of those lovely races that she was talking about in the south of England. I thought that was lovely. So still doing the activity that she always loved, but in a different format, in a different way.
Yeah, she took the pressure off a little bit. You know, the pressure of expectation in the world of endurance sports sometimes can be very, I always say, people within triathlon specifically, they often talk more than they listen. And so you find yourself comparing yourself to others more than is healthy, more than you should. It's like, whoa, what race time have you done? What race time have you done? What race are you doing? And it becomes this sort of ecosystem that eats away at your mental health a little bit. And you lose the reason. You lose the why and the joy of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think she refound that.
Yeah, she totally did. Yeah, absolutely. You can tell, like, in not just her words, but in her voice. And we could see her face as well. Listeners couldn't see her face, but we could. She's definitely found the joy. And it's not just about the cycling, is it? It's much more global than that. It's being outdoors. It's seeing new places. It's discovering new parts of her hometown or new parts of the planet. It's enjoying cycling, but because it allows her to see the world, basically. So I think that's so cool.
It is, and it's better than the turbo trainer has a place in a training cycle for certain days and certain times where you need to get a really quality session in, but it doesn't bring a huge amount of joy. And it does lead to a disconnection with the reason why you're on your bike in the first place. If you're just sitting stationary in a room getting sweaty.
Yeah, that wouldn't be my jam. I have to be outdoors. I
Yeah,
have to get out in it.
I can't imagine you on a turbo trainer.
It'd be rubbish. I'd be so slow.
Should we have a coffee?
Yeah, let's go get a coffee. It's your turn today, I think, huh?
It's my round.
Nice. The weekly roast. Is that it?
So this week I have bought a coffee called La Labor. It's a Honduras organic, roasted in Devon by the Devon Coffee Company. Now these beans, they come from 417 meters above sea level. And this Devon Coffee Company was set up a few years ago, and they get beans from all over the world and roast them up. And this is some good coffee, they say.
It's not bad, not bad. 470 meters above. That's like the hill on which I currently live. It's about that high. Yeah.
What I've made you an oat milk latte, haven't I? As
of course.
Standard. How does it taste drowned in all that oat milk?
It's nice. It tastes very, very smooth. It's pretty chocolatey. I like that. I like a little bit of a chocolatey flavor in my coffee, but it's going down very nicely after our hike.
Yeah, there are notes of this one says it's got notes of caramel, chocolate, and lemon, and I can certainly pick out those three flavors quite strongly. I mean, I'm more of an espresso man, as you know, so I get that pure hit of flavor rather than drowning it in all that oat milk.
Right.
Anyway, anybody out there who's interested, check out the Devon Coffee Company at Devon Coffee Company. Can I say this?
You've said that so many times now.
Devon Coffee Company.com. Nailed it.
So, like, link in the show notes, something like that.
Yeah, it sounds like a good plan. Let's do that.
Yeah, nice.
Let's be honest. So let's take a moment to be honest, eh?
Let's be honest.
How's the week been?
It's been all right. It has been all right. I know that I have been still recovering a little bit from my half marathon. This is the second week after that. And I kind of felt like I should have been, much better at training this week than I was. Like I totally called my Friday run. I did go for a walk instead. Instead of running for an hour, I walked for an hour. Which, I'm still out in it, so that was fine. But yeah, there was midweek, there was a little bit of frustration because the Monday run and the Tuesday speed work had been quite hard. And I didn't feel like I was back to my pre-marathon speeds and fitness and endurance and everything. So I think I found that a little bit frustrating. I'm gonna be doing my long run tomorrow, so I'll see how that goes. It's bank holiday weekend for us in France and for England, I think. Yeah, so I'm gonna be doing a nice long run tomorrow. See how my legs hold out. I haven't gone any further than like 13 Ks since I've been back from Bristol.
Which is fine.
I know, but I want to see if I can do 15 without, feeling exhausted and on the verge of tears.
Yeah, I mean, look, it can take 2, 3, even 4 weeks sometimes to recover from a top end effort like that, where you've really gone for a personal best at a race, no matter what the distance, and certainly at a half marathon and above. That's a big impact on the body. So feeling like you're not at your best and feeling like you're still recovering is no bad thing at all. And I think your training plan did state that these speed efforts weren't to be speedy, were they? They were just going to be a slight raise of pace.
They weren't supposed to be speedy, and I had fewer intervals than I did before the race. And I wasn't pushing it. I did pay attention to what you'd written in my coaching plan. I didn't push. And there were fewer, and that's why I was a little bit frustrated, because when I was jogging back home, after the intervals, I was like, fucking hell, I'm really tired.
Yeah, but that's the point, isn't it? You have got to go into recovery weeks with the expectation you're going to feel like that, and then try and be kind to yourself out the other side of it, because that is how you're going to feel. You are going to feel tired. You are going to feel like your body's lagging behind where you'd expect it to be. Well, not where you'd expect it to be, where you'd normally be, because this is where you should expect it to be. And certainly when it comes to weeks like this, if you don't feel like going for a run, like you say, you called your Friday run, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's just it's just the lay of the land. You went out for a walk instead, and I know you did some cross training today on your bike. So all active recovery is good recovery.
Thanks, Coach Bale. That's made me feel much better. And what about you? Be
Didn't
honest.
didn't you have a question about heart rate zones you wanted to
Oh, I
send my
totally,
way?
I did. I did. I totally had a question about heart rate zones because I have been doing recovery runs and you stipulated that they had to be easy runs. And I just don't understand stuff. So like on my Garmin watch, there are 5 zones. Zone 1 is super easy when your heart rate is like normal and it's like a warm up. Zone 2 is easy. And that's when my heart rate is normally around 100, up to 120. And then it goes into the green zone, zone 3, and apparently that's aerobic. And then I hit threshold at 143. My heart's 143, and then that's in the orange zone. And then the red zone is when like my heart's like, what the fuck? Stop doing shit now. Anyway, what I wanted to ask was when you say easy runs, such a preamble. When you say easy runs, am I supposed to stay in that blue zone where my heart rate is like barely above normal? Because like around here, if I start running up a hill, it goes out of blue and into green, and I'm like, should I stop? Should I walk? Should I?
No,
Okay.
no. Your heart rate zones are a very rough and I don't like to say unscientific because it is. I mean, measuring heart rate is a scientific process, but they're not spreading. Your Garmin predicting your heart rate zones is a very rough estimate as to where you actually are. If you
Okay.
went and got your heart rate accurately measured and then you did some VO2 testing and you did some testing on some machines at the point at which, you know, got to failure, they could accurately map your heart rates a lot better than your Garmin could. The Garmin's there as a guide, really. And also, more than that, it kind of is a record keeping device. You know, I tend to use the Garmin less as an immediate source of information while I'm doing something and more as a record keeping device to see what I have done so that it records the exercise that I've done. I can look back on it and I compare. Oh, well, that session this happened and that session this happened. When I'm actually in a session, I'm less concerned what the heart rate monitor says, as long as I'm not like completely ignoring it and in the red.
Hmm.
A much better gauge of effort when you're in an easy run is whether you think you could run along holding a conversation with somebody.
Oh, just like Dave said.
Yeah, exactly. Whether you could run along just talking without feeling like you're out of breath, without feeling like you're having to go, because that is the point at which you're going more from that aerobic into that anaerobic zone. So it doesn't matter at all if when you're running along and you're going up a hill, your heart rate spikes a little bit and you go into that orange zone for a little bit, as long as the recovery once you go on the other side is fairly swift and you go back down again. I
Okay.
certainly don't ever want somebody thinking they are tied to that heart rate zone and I must stay in this no matter what. Unless somebody is at the very, very, very early stages of running or is incredibly overweight, haven't done a huge amount of exercise for a long time, that's when you'd be saying to them, right, as soon as it gets uphill and your heart rate starts to go up, you're going to be walking. You're going to be doing a lot of walking until we get you running, because we want to keep you at that very low to moderate effort until you've, gone through the gears a little bit, lost a bit of weight, started to get some cardiovascular endurance. But with you, it doesn't matter at all if it goes into that orange zone a little bit at all.
Okay, because that was another source of mini frustration this week because all the hills and stuff that I normally bound up. Oh, bound. I don't bound. Yeah, I run like I run like a dwarf. I'm Gimli when I run. But when I can run up the hills all around my house, and this week because I was kind of getting a little bit obsessive about my easy zone, I was walking up all of these hills that I normally run up, and I was like, oh, this is rubbish. I just want to run up the hill. It's taking ages to
If
walk.
you want to run up the hill, run up the hill.
Okay.
What you don't want to be doing is feeling like you have to run up the hill and you're going and you're really struggling for breath and it's hard no matter how slow you run, but feeling like you've got to run up it to stay in a certain zone, or feeling like you've got to walk up it when running would be just as easy, or but just because your heart rate would change. What you really need to be governed by on an easy run is effort. Effort is everything. How much effort are you having to put in to do something? Does it feel easy, or does it feel
Okay.
like you're having to try? If it feels easy, do it. If you're feeling like you're having to put a huge amount of effort in and you're running out of breath and you're feeling like you're going to stop, then slow down.
Okay.
An easy
Brilliant.
run is simply that, an easy run. And your heart rate, especially on a Garmin watch that is taking a reading from the wrist and not from a heart rate strap, because the wrist ones are notoriously less accurate than the heart rate, than the chest straps.
Okay, brilliant. Right, well, I will bear that in mind tomorrow when I am on my long run. Actually, what I'm going to do tomorrow is on my long run is I'm gonna cover up my watch. I wear like headband thingies. I've got a bunch of them. I'm gonna wrap one around my wrist, and I'll set my watch because obviously I want to see how far I will have run by the time I finished. But I'm gonna cover up my watch so that I can't see what's going on and just go by feel.
Good idea. Good idea. I
Thanks.
think it's really worthwhile doing that. Certainly, sometimes doing speed sessions like that can be really useful as well, because you're less concerned by what speed you're running or trying to look at your watch when you're doing your intervals. You're just doing it. Like
Okay.
kind of like Dave was saying, get his athletes on the track and just blow the whistle when they should be starting and blow the whistle when they should be stopping. And what you do, body remembers effort.
Okay. I would have to do that with you though, because I need to look at my watch to see how long the time is.
You can preset it to bleep at different intervals, but I mean that's a conversation we can have offline.
Brilliant. Okay. Thanks for that, Coach Bell. How about you? Let's be honest.
Well, I think I said last week it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle because of the hip injury, and last week it was all about being very concerned with the implications of it and how long I was going to be out. This week it took a different turn because I'd been to see 3 separate medical professionals who told me 3 separate things, ranging from osteoarthritis to a muscular issue to a hairline fracture in my hip. I think it's a lesson for everybody in Googling what could or could not be the outcome, and then reading what that might mean, and then starting to feel a little bit like you've got those symptoms.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to talk yourself into feeling a certain way before you've had a proper, thorough diagnosis with a final conclusion. Because as soon as someone mentioned to me that I might have a hairline fracture in my hip, I nosedived.
You totally
And
did. You went to a really dark place
I
in the middle of
did.
the week.
And although the pain was real because I have been doing an incorrect rehab exercise for the injury I've got for the last few days, the pain did feel like it was getting more intense.
Mm.
But yeah, so the lesson from me, I think, is do not panic too much until you've had a thorough and proper diagnosis with an agreed on problem by all the professionals you're seeing, and then a roadmap to a solution. Because I was convincing myself I was going to have 6 months off running and crutches and possibly surgery, and it turns out it's not that. It's still an issue, but it's less of an issue, and there is a solution at the end of the tunnel.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you're out of your dark place and also stop Googling shit.
Yeah. I was just interested. I was like, well, so okay, so if I've got a hairline fracture, what does that mean? Oh, it means. Oh God.
Yeah. Stay away from the Google.
Stay away from the Google machine. No one likes the Google machine. Shall we put some music on and forget about it?
Yeah, let's get some tunes on. Turn it up.
That'll probably do, won't it? You haven't put anything in the doc this week, so I'm relying on your brain. You're going first.
Is that going in the pod?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All of this messing about you're currently doing is going right in there.
Well, fuck me sideways. I did have a tune that I was going to put in the Spotify playlist this week, It was going to be Disturbed. And then I changed my mind because yesterday I was doing some writing. And I also listen to music when I'm writing, because that helps get me in the zone. And then this one popped up and I was like, this fucking tune. And it's also really, really good to run to. It is just an instrumental. It is The Game Has Changed from the Tron Legacy soundtrack.
Yeah, it's a good soundtrack.
It's fucking the whole soundtrack is epic. But The Game Has Changed. It's my all-time favorite. As soon as this one comes up on the album, it's like, fuck yeah. And I can write really, really fast. And I can also run quite quickly to this one as well. It's got quite a nice beat. I love the Tron soundtrack because I love that kind of electronic with big old orchestra sound. It's such a good sound.
It is, and it's a very stylized film.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah, it's good.
I quite enjoyed that flick.
Good choice.
Thanks.
That will be added on release day, which, as people are listening, will be today.
Huzzah! And how about you? What have you picked? Make it good. Don't be shit.
I'm going to choose a song called "Don't Let the Darkness" by the Band of Heathens.
Okay.
Now, it's a tune about having. It's something I listened to a lot this week. It's a sort of a song about having the strength to live in the moment and live in the now, and not be sort of as the lyrics say, not get lost chasing answers to things that might have gone wrong in the past, which I think is a message we all need sometimes, eh?
You definitely needed that message this week.
And so the Band of Heathens are one of my favorite bands, and they are entirely label free from their inception in the early 2000s. They've just built up their own following. So they're not attached to a record label. They're entirely independent, and they are brilliant.
I love an indie artist. Yeah, indie artists. I can have it.
So don't let the darkness bring you down, everybody. Have a listen to that track because it will be on the playlist. The playlist is now over 55 minutes long.
Oh, that's like that's a good run list. We put some interesting songs on it this week, I think, with yours, mine, and Kat's little mélange.
I think so
songs.
too. I think everyone listening should go and check that out.
Check it out.
So I think that's us for the week, isn't it? I think anyone who is listening and enjoyed the podcast should go and check out the website, sign up for the newsletter, get the free personal development friend, book a consultation with us, and we can start your journey to much improved health and well-being and many, many, many hours outside.
Yeah, you'll love it. You'll love it. It will change your life, like fully, for real, and utterly totes.
Well, always good to chat, and we'll do it again next week.
Yes, see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for hitting the trails with us this week. We'll meet you back here next Monday for more news, more views, more nature.
All the links for our socials are in the show notes. Find and follow us on Facebook, Insta, YouTube, and Twitter. You can subscribe to our newsletter from our website for all the latest updates and camp plans. You get a fun free gift when you sign up.
Leave a review on your podcast app. It's really easy and really helps us out.
And if you've got any friends who could do with getting out in it, then bring them along to next week's outdoor adventure. We'd love to have you all with us.
Catch you next week. Cheerio.